Have a seat, find a place, get comfortable.
I trust you, Sam. I trust you.
Okay, so after our first exam, we had our Top Guns. I called them Top Guns because I had just seen the movie.
Top Gun.
No, The Lion King. But, but this test, I'm feeling a little different. I'm feeling a little medieval. So I'm going to let you in on a little story that's going to guide us through job order costing. So, welcome to Kingdom Accountica. Our beloved king, King Costa, has fallen ill to the most deadly of diseases, liabilititis. He's dying. He has an empire of 10,000 clients at $10,000 each. They pay him per year. How much money is that? $100 million a year. He's built his empire over many years, but now he's dying. And he doesn't want to leave his 10,000 beloved clients without a king, without a queen, without a ruler. So he looked to me, his trusted jester scholar, to find the next king. So I, of course, took the task because King Costa is a good friend of mine. So now, there can only be one king, one queen out of this next exam. Let's say more than one person gets 100, no problem. There's going to be a quick duel on job order costing. So if more than one person gets 100, then I'm going to issue another quick exam, about a 10-minute quiz, and the first person to finish that correctly gets to become the next king or queen. Otherwise, if you get an A, you're going to be part of the king's high court. If you get a B or a C, you're going to be a part of the prince or princess advisors. If you fail the exam, you're going to be stuck with me in the jester's court. That's tutoring. Okay, so that your tutoring is going to be mandatory if you fail this exam. There's going to be multiple ways we can handle tutoring, and that is either face to face in classroom 104 in the main building, and that's going to be between 2 to 3 p.m. or 4 to 5 p.m. That depends. If that can't be made, then I'll have an email exchange where you have to do problems and emailing back by a certain time. So if you fail, you're going to be stuck with the jester scholar. So now we know what's going on, what's at stake. Let's move on to job order costing. Step by step by step by step. Okay, how do we start? Where do we start? Wrong. What's the question? What are the two questions I'm asking? Cost. I'm asking for what is the cost of goods manufactured and what is the cost of goods sold. If you don't know how to do those, then why even bother doing any of the other steps? Right?
Right.
Right, because you're going to go all through the steps and be like, oh shoot, now what? And you wasted 30 minutes of your time when you could have just not done it. Right? Okay, so what is cost of goods? Let me erase all this other silliness. But remember, every day that passes by, King Costa is dying. And what did you want? His $100 million empire? No. I know I would. Okay. Too much work?
Too much stress.
Too much stress. Cost of goods manufactured. What do I need to get that number?
You need the beginning with?
Beginning with.
Direct materials.
Direct materials.
Direct labor.
Direct labor.
And manufacturing overhead.
Manufacturing overhead.
Then you're going to minus the ending with.
What is that box?
It's the
You're
total of
adding-
all of these.
Oh.
The box is the total.
From the factory house.
Okay, and that gives us
Your total.
cost of goods manufactured. Cost of goods manufactured. Okay, as we read the problem and as we get information, we're going to start filling in these numbers. That's the best way to do it. Now, cost of goods sold, how do we get that?
You're going to take your beginning finished goods plus your cost of goods manufactured and minus your ending finished goods.
And that gives us our cost of goods sold. What is our finished goods?
It's your sold.
What's been sold? How much did we sell?
221,000.
Okay. I gave that information to you, right?
Yes.
Manufacturing overhead, we don't know. We know that it's 30% of what?
Of that.
What? of direct labor, which is
Direct labor.
155.
Direct labor. I gave you direct labor, which is
155,000.
multiplied by that gives us this number here. So what is that number?
46,500.
What is our direct materials?
300,000.
300,000, right?
Mhm.
And what was our beginning with?
75,000.
Wow. Looks pretty good, right? We have a bunch of numbers filled out, and we didn't have to do any T accounts.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
So what numbers are we missing?
You gotta add it up and get the, you're gonna get the ending with,
How do you get your ending width?
you're gonna take your,
Now we gotta do T counts, right? This is where we hit a roadblock, right? Okay, so now we have a bunch of information, and we're almost, all we have to figure out now is, now we need to get our total, which we can get that, right?
yes,
Mhm.
it's 576,500.
500. Bless you.
Okay. So then what are we missing? Ending width? We don't know what that is. And so we don't know our cost of good manufactured yet, right?
Right.
Because we know our ending width. And our ending finished goods? Do you know that yet?
No.
Isn't it the 221,000?
And then finished goods then.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it
It's
is.
221,000.
Don't ever doubt yourself. If you know it in your gut, go with it. Okay, so what do we need? All we need is our ending width and our cost of good manufactured, and we have our two answers. Anybody think to go backwards before going that top down? How much easier is it to do this?
A lot easier.
You have 90% of the information at your fingertips. If this is all you did, you could probably pass the test. Now, the other portion of getting, so this, if all you did was fill this out, I'd give you a C. The T, you finish the T accounts, finish the entire test, you can get your C, I'm sorry, your B or A. You can do this, I'll give you a C. Fair?
But
That's
What
actually,
if you don't
satisfying.
change it?
can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Actually, if you do it this way, can't you figure out your ending width right here?
Could you?
Yes, because you got the 75,000, the 300,000, and the
Yeah.
155, you're gonna add those and minus your 221.
Mine,
Let's do the math, let's see if it comes out. First, let's do the T accounts. We're not gonna take any short corners anymore. T accounts, now let's go all the way back and make sure that our numbers fill up. Now, we have raw materials, what the heck do we do with those?
You're
What
going
can we do with it?
to start your beginning balance on is 50,000.
Raw
On the debit
material
side,
inventory. Beginning inventory of that was what?
50,000.
50,000. Okay. How much did we buy? 322.
322.
Raw materials, where did that?
and then we have your vendor, your accounts payable.
Vendor accounts payable.
And that's 322,000.
Transaction 1 complete? Transaction 2.
You have your materials used, which is gonna be your raw material. You're gonna credit that 322,000. You're gonna.
Credit the whole 322,000?
Well, you're gonna add those two, and then would you not put the 20,000 of indirect material in your manufacturer overhead?
So first you need your WIC account?
Let's go to our book account first.
Okay.
Labor costs are gonna go into your work in process. Because you cannot have raw labor, that doesn't make sense. So we go into our working process. Do we have a beginning balance in there?
75,000.
77? Okay,
And then the 100,000.
300,000?
Yes. And then the 155,000.
That was direct labor.
No, for
Raw material.
Now, on your manufacturing overhead, T account? You have
20,000.
20,000.
So altogether, the
Which is
3,200 is gonna go off your
Which is
raw material
payable.
on the credit.
We all balanced? I don't see your head now.
Are you hold on, Mr. What?
So we're on transaction 2.
Yes.
So we add $320,000 of something, direct materials, used. So they have, those materials have to come from somewhere. We're gonna yank them out of our raw materials. We're gonna credit that 320,000, but we're given 300,000 of direct materials, so we're gonna go and put that in WIP, and 20,000 of indirect. If it's indirect, it's gonna be in your manufacturing overhead. So we're gonna debit that account. That is transaction 2. All balanced? All good to go?
And that's T3?
I see it.
I'm sorry?
And that's T3?
That's T2.
That's it.
It's T2, or 2T2. T3, labor costs incurred.
You're going to.
Now what do we got?
That's gonna be
The
your wages payable?
155 is gonna be under work.
Wages payable?
Yes. First,
You gotta put 155 under it.
155 under WIP.
You gotta do wage payable and also,
How much do I add? How much is my indirect labor?
22,000.
And now you have your wages payable.
Are your wages payable?
Yes.
Do you,
Make it bigger?
no,
No.
no, like label it, see which
Of course.
transaction which.
So this is your indirect materials, indirect label. This is your direct materials, direct labor. This is your materials used. I'm sorry, this is materials purchased, materials used. This is materials purchased. There you go. I hope that is better. Okay, and
The numbers next to
the number, oh, transaction, I'm sorry. So this was transaction, direct materials, transaction 2. Transaction 1. Okay, and which one were we missing?
Wage payable.
Wages payable. You guys are totally over this and bored. It's okay. The king is counting on you. Wages payable. And how much goes to wages payable?
177,000.
177? And that one's 3. Okay. All good, transaction up to 3? Good. We're gonna figure out where the train gets off its tracks. So we're gonna take our time, like I said, no pressure today. T4.
You're gonna put.
What happens now? Ooh. T4 through T7.
On the
And you're
manufacturing
gonna-
overhead.
Manufacturing overhead, exactly.
21,000. And you're gonna do another T account of accumulated depreciation. And you do 21,000 on the credit side.
This is number 4. Okay.
And then 7,100, you're going to put it in your manufacturing overhead
Okay.
on the debit side. And you're going to make another T account for cash of 7,100 on the credit side.
So far, so good? Number 6?
Then
6,100 on manufacturing overhead?
Prepaid.
Number 7?
Property tax. 5,100 on your manufactured overhead debit.
5,100?
Yes, sir. And then property
And then
taxes,
property
T account, credit.
Give everybody a minute to catch up. So far, so good?
Yes.
Okay. For all of you that didn't just nod your head, I'll give you a minute to go ahead and get up to speed here. So the train is still on its tracks. Somewhere between 7 and here, we're not aligning up, so they're gonna find out. Is it transaction 8 or is it transaction 9? Because you're lazy. Okay, everybody up to speed?
Yeah.
No, okay, that's okay. As much time as you need. There's no pressure today, no rush. We're learning job order costing once and for all.
No, I'm gonna put that aside.
Is that accumulated?
Accumulated depreciation. Did I mention that whoever gets to be king or queen gets to drop their lowest homework? Drop their lowest homework? No?
The lowest.
The lowest homework grade.
No, you didn't mention that.
I mean, the lowest homework grade anyone has is a 60, so. It's not too bad. Ooh, okay, that's your ooh.
No, I said, ooh.
Oh, move.
Do you have all of our grades?
Okay, everybody good? All copied up? Are we all balanced? Transaction 1 through 7, nice and cool? Okay. Transaction 8, overhead allocation. What the heck does that mean? I gave you an overhead allocation rate of how much?
30%.
What do we multiply that by?
Direct labor.
Why? PowerPoint says so. Because that is the one physical thing that we can count against. It's a percentage of an actual item that we're using. Direct labor is a measurable item, directly specific to that job. We're using 155 direct labor hours for whatever project this is. Direct cost, money. We don't know how much electricity or whatever, and that's why I gave 30%. It's an estimated overhead allocation rate. We're assuming that 30% of our utilities and costs for this month are attributed to the cost of this job. We're using 155 direct labor hours specifically for this job. That's why it's direct labor hours. Makes sense? Okay, so what number do we get from that?
46,500.
That's transaction 8.
Okay, and how did you get that?
So
Labor times 30%.
direct labor times 30%.
155,000.
155.
So far, so good?
Okay, what, direct labor?
Direct labor, 155,000 times 30%. So your MO is direct labor times 30%, or the allocated overhead rate. Predetermined allocated overhead. What? Power. Your power. Do we get this number? Okay, that's transaction 8. Is the train still on its tracks?
Yes.
So then what the heck happened with transaction 9?
46,000.
Transaction 9, we sold $221,000 worth of goods.
Right.
So what happened?
We subtract that from
What numbers do we need?
Well, you already have your ending.
the subtraction from the.
How do we get our ending width?
You take
You're going-
the 3, the beginning,
Your
the
cost
end,
incurred.
and DL. You're gonna add that up,
Yep.
and then you're gonna minus the
Your cost incurred.
221.
Boom, there we go.
Yes.
Because you didn't add that on.
The 221. Now that we sold something, this is going to move out of here and into finished goods.
Yep.
221. And then you're going to go ahead and go cost of goods sold. We're going to get to that in a second. I know that's really small. But for now, the 221. So let's add these up. If you add up these three, what do you get?
530.
530
Yes, sir.
minus 221
309.
equals 309.
Mhm.
Is this our ending width?
No.
Mr. What is that? Was it finished good? What is that?
Finished goods is how much we sold,
The 221?
the 221.
Where's the 221 coming from?
I gave that at the very top of the sheet. I'm sorry, at the very bottom.
On transaction 9.
Transaction
Oh, how
9.
much you sold, okay, so that goes in, okay. 221,000, finished good, so that goes into.
So Sam, you said this is not our ending WIP. Why not? Looks like an ending WIP to me.
Because you still need to include your cost of goods manufactured in that.
Not in the WIP?
No.
No, not, right, that's true. That's, I'm thinking of cost of goods sold.
Okay, so we're not there quite yet.
Right.
So this is our
Ending with.
ending WIP.
Mhm.
That's the missing number we needed. So we subtract 309. What are we left with?
267,500.
Is this the answer for cost of goods manufactured?
No,
Yes.
or sold.
Yes.
We ding.
Sam, you're confusing everyone. You cannot speak for the next 5 minutes. That is the answer for cost of goods manufactured, 267,500. Who got that answer? Okay, do you feel better about yourself now?
I got it now.
Whew, now you got it. Whew, okay, so for those of you that didn't, what happened?
Okay, wait.
Was the labeling of finished goods?
Yes.
Okay, so it was the labeling that threw you off.
What was the transaction name?
Transaction 9. Transaction 9 is where everybody, the very last step is where everybody got derailed. Okay,
How did you get this?
okay, so we can go through transaction 9 one more time just so we can nail it home. So we have cost of goods manufactured, we're almost done. 267,500. We'll do transaction 9 right now, but first let's finish. Sorry, it'd be easier if we did this. We're at beginning finished goods, 221 plus 267,500 minus 221,
267,500.
267,500.
You see, that's what's throwing me off because my ending finished goods was 0 because I moved. If you sold it, it's not the finished goods anymore. That's what's throwing me off because your ending balance would have been 0 if you sold it.
That's what I'm taking out of
Okay.
all of it.
So we put a balance in there. We'll work out better.
Working with a balance.
Yeah, well, but it's not just that. Your ending finished goods would have been 0.
Because you sold it.
If you finished it, then that's great. But if you sold it, it would not have been in finished goods anymore.
221, going to 221.
Yeah.
I have it.
So this.
See what the problem is there? That's where my problem is.
Okay, so then your answer would have been 500 and something. No,
Yeah.
490.
Whatever, but
498.
yeah, I just changed it on the paper, but
I think what's
No,
confusing
480.
us is because we're
480.
going to sold and then putting in finished goods, and the way the book
Okay.
gives you
We're going to address
the
that right now.
balance of having something there, and then once you sell a few things, then you take it out.
Okay, we'll address that one. First, let's do transaction 9 one more time. So transaction number 9, we sold $221,000 worth of goods. So we're going to yank that out of where? Our WIP. Now that we have a number here, we can get our ending balance for the WIP. Then we can plug it back into what was missing here, which was our ending WIP. And we get cost of goods manufactured. That's transaction 9. So the confusing part, which a few students had here on the last one, cost of goods sold, is if you sell $221,000 worth of goods, then the ending balance should be 0. That makes sense. So instead of that happening, I'm going to give you a beginning balance for finished goods. Okay. So, job order costing now starting to make a little bit more sense?
Yes.
Should make a lot more sense now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what's going to happen. Let me go ahead and stop recording here.